Good afternoon. My name is Talon, and my channel is Old Guy Stuff on Busy Corner Lane. Today we're going to be talking about the Leatherman Skeletool. Now, there are many different variations on the Skeletool. This was basically the original one, whose design was kind of the inspiration for the different models of Skeletool. But this is the older one. They still sell them. I bought this at $40 on discount going through a hardware store about 3 years ago. I checked online a little while ago and they're selling now for $80. Okay, so let's get with the basics here. The closed length is 4 1/8 inches, which is 10.5 centimeters. If I open it up so that we see the pliers on it, then our length is 6 1/8 inch and 15.6 centimeters. Okay, the knife blade is a combo blade. The plain part is 1 1/4 inches. The serrated part is 1 inch. I know I wrote it as combo, but it's serrated. The entire overall cutting length is 5.74 centimeters or 2 1/4 inches. The weight is 5 1/8 ounces. Very lightweight, 144 grams. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start by saying this. I have 5 Leatherman tools. Okay, I have the Skeletool, I have the Surge, I have the Rev, which is almost identical to the bolster. The only difference is this one has a package opener, and the bolster replaced the package opener with a short serrated blade. Otherwise, that bolster that's selling right now is identical to the Rev. In my EDC Altoids, I carry the Micra and the Style PS. Now, all that being said, I'd like to recognize that I think there are basically 3 types of people that use multi-tools. Basically 3. They're the ones that love the company and love all the products. They're the ones that hate the company and hate all their products. And then there's the ones in the middle. And I'm one of those that's caught in the middle on all this. So, that being said, I'm going to clear everything else out of here and we're going to talk about the Skeletool. Had to move things around a little bit, but I want to make sure I keep my made in America there. All right. So, let's go over some of the basics first. This knife blade. I don't like combo blades. That is just me personally. All right. But if they're going to make a combo blade, my personal preference is to have the plain part here and the serrated part on the outside. Now, I know that's really picky, and I'm not going to say I don't like this tool based on that blade. I'm just saying that I'm not really a fan of the combo blades. Okay. That being said, though, this blade cuts extremely well, especially with regards of, I would say, synthetics. And by that I mean, there's a lot of times I need to cut glue sticks, and this particular blade, especially this serrated part, cuts better than almost any blade I've ever tried to use on a glue stick. And like I said, I've got 5 different Leathermans, and I've got a whole bunch of Gerbers and Victorinox and different companies. But this blade is the best one I have found working on synthetics, especially glue sticks. So take that as you want. You might not do any work with glue sticks, but I do a lot, and this blade has been really good for making really nice cuts quick and safe. Okay, let me close this up here. All right, I'm going to open up the pliers. Now, this stuff just locks up like really, really tight on the little springy part of it. This is not a spring pliers, but the way it locks up, I mean, I feel a pop every time I do it. Okay, and that's not a bad thing either. That's a good thing in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about these pliers here. I'm going to move some stuff around, so don't freak out when you see the new setup. I got a bolt showing. However, I'm going to talk about this wire here for a second. Okay, this is some hefty wire. Okay, it's 1/8 thick. It actually goes to a clothes hanger. A lot of times the wire clothes hangers, they're really flimsy. Now these bad boys, these things were actually really strong, very stiff, 1/8 thick. Okay, I will never use these pliers, or excuse me, these wire cutters on this. Okay, now I did a surge review, and I cut these several times with the surge wire cutters, and I'm very confident using the surge on these. And I always have been since I first got it. And the reason for that is surge has these replaceable cutters here for wires. So if I mess one up, I can just order some replacements and I'm good to go. This is pretty thin material here actually. So if I crank down on this hard enough to cut through this wire, it may actually do good, but I don't want to risk it. Okay, so I am not confident with these pliers in that regard. Okay, so I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying since it's not a replaceable one, I'm not going to put anything really strong, heavy, thick wire type material to the test on these. In fact, the only multi-tool I have that I will trust to cut through that wire is the surge. Okay, so it's not a knock on Leatherman on this. It's saying this particular one, I don't trust that. That's all. Okay, let's talk about what you can do with this though. This will open up pretty wide. This is 7/16 of an inch, and I can put this on here, close it down, which by the way, I don't recommend using pliers on nuts and bolts because I would much rather use sockets or wrenches, but say I need to, then I can get the turns made on this to get it loose enough that I can then do it with my fingers. Okay, so that part's okay. I'm going to rearrange for a moment. And look at this conglomeration of a messed up looking setup here, right? If I had to use these pliers on this, I'm not confident I'm going to be able to get this in there good with all this other stuff in the way. Okay? So overall, that's not really something you'd want to use with pliers, okay? On the other end of this, down in that direction, was that other bolt or the other nut that I was able to do really easy. But this one, I'm not going to be really able to get to, okay? Well, let me tell you where I think Leatherman really shines on this particular tool. And that's this part right here, which I would really like to see on every tool. The Surge has this, okay? I'd like to see it on the Rev. I'd like to see it on the Bolster, okay? Maybe those smaller tools like the Micra, this wouldn't go good with, but I'd like to see this part on every one of their tools. And the reason for that is, close this part up, take that out. This is supposed to help it lock. It doesn't always engage, but most of the time it does. If I've got this apparatus right here, I can get a bit driver, and these are not expensive, and they got ratcheting bit drivers now, so I can take this and slide it into there. It's not going to lock down though, okay? But it'll slide in and hold pretty good. Okay, I can shake it. It's going to hold pretty good. And any type of hexagonal shaft that is 1/4 inch, like even this drill bit, I can put in here, and I can use this to actually drill a hole. I've done it. It's not fun, but it will work. Okay? But if I'm in a situation like this, and I happen to have a deep socket handy, I've got this. I can just take this whole thing in this tool like this, put it in here, and I can turn it and loosen it up enough where I can now use my fingers if I need to. Okay, so this tool with this particular aspect really shines in that regard. Okay, so it really shines in that regard, just having this part right here. I'm not exactly sure what they call this, but seriously, Leatherman and every other company that makes multi-tools, if you put this device on your tools, you might get a lot more sales because your tools are going to become much more versatile then. Well, just so you know. Okay. Okay, so let me undo that. So this is their bit driver. They have a ratcheting bit driver. Okay. And cool thing with this, you can get one of these things for about $1. And this is all metal right here, which is really good. And you can actually use it like a thumb driver. It's actually called a thumb driver. And you can actually use this to turn your stuff and get this to where it sits in the pouch. And you're good to go. You've got a lot of applications you can do to make this tool even better. Okay. So hats off to Leatherman on that part. I really love that aspect of the tool. Now let me get that screwdriver put back in here. All right. That did lock in place, so that's good. So now I've got this screwdriver. All right. I don't really need this screwdriver. It's convenient to have it on there, but I don't need it if I actually incorporate something like the bit driver on it. I don't really need that because then I can use any type of screwdriver bit I want. It doesn't have to be a Phillips or a standard. Okay. So now I'm back on here and I want to adjust one of these things. I can just put this screwdriver bit in there and I can do my turns. I can loosen and take that thing off, or I can, tighten it down. Okay. Now, I don't really have the need for a common screwdriver with this particular paracord jig that I made. All right. Well, let's change this out like maybe I do need to. Okay. So let's take this off. And I want to get to this here. This is actually a pain in the behind to get out. I can get it out. It's just not easy to do. Let me get it back in. And if I'm wearing gloves like it's a cold day out, oh gosh, forget that. I have to take the gloves off. I could take this, this other bit and use that to push it out. And that makes it a lot easier. Okay. But they don't need this at all. They really dropped the ball with this particular part of the design, in my opinion. Based on how this is, okay? I realize they want to be able to get the bits in there, but I think they really dropped the ball on that. So let's stick that back in there now, okay? So now we got this, and we're going to put the Phillips back into this slot because that's where it goes for storing. Let's open up them pliers to use it, and now we're going to use the pliers. Check that out. That can be digging into the hand, okay? It's more comfortable with the Phillips than it is with the standard. Okay, but that can be digging into the hand. Oh, so you think, well, maybe go this way, right? But now you got this digging into the hand and that digging into the finger. I don't have giant sized hands. I would consider myself to have more medium size, not big size. So this area in the design to me is a big flaw. It's a big flaw. Okay, so if I put this one in here, it's a little more comfortable because I don't have a corner sticking into my hand. But this area here, if I'm really squeezing, you can actually see this indenting into the hand. Now, I might want to wear gloves when I'm using it. Okay, so that would be a good thing. I'm going to make a comparison with this compared to some other multi-tools though. Now, I know these are not all Leathermans, but 3 of them are. Okay, and we'll talk about this right here, which is not a Leatherman. Because about 30 or 40 years ago, Leatherman was in competition for a military contract and lost out to this company. And the reason for that was the people that were sitting in the meeting decided upon which tool to get, and these were not there, okay? These weren't. We're talking, you know, a few decades ago. But they held the Leatherman in their hand and they were doing a lot of squeezing with it, see how really comfortable it's going to be to use. And then they used this company's tool, which had all these rounded edges on it. And the fact that this is really narrow together. And they were saying, this is much more comfortable. If our guys have to be like using this a lot out in the field, it's not going to cause much discomfort on their hands to do so. I mean, I'm cranking down as tight grip as I can do. My knuckles are changing colors, but yet it was comfortable. If I go about halfway with this, it's not comfortable. Okay, so Leatherman lost the contract about 30 or 40 years ago, right, to this company right here. Now, Leatherman learned their lesson for the most part. So, like this tool here, all these edges are rounded all the way around, all the way around. So when you grip this and it's kind of close together all the way, even the whitest part, it's still pretty comfortable. Still is, right? This is the Surge, which is now going for $140. This is the Rev, which is, you know, it clocked in at about the $35 range, but I can be squeezing this one all day long and it's comfortable, right? I squeeze this one and I'm uncomfortable after about a minute. Okay, so Leatherman learned their lesson for the most part, but then they dropped the ball when they did the Skeletool. Not sure why, but that's just my take on it. Now that information I gave about the military contract, I researched that to find that information because I didn't just know it. I actually went online and was checking a lot of things about the histories of those two, Leatherman and the other company, and found that information from that search. So Leatherman, for the most part, learned their lesson on that because they lost a major deal with the military. However, they didn't really follow through doing it with this one. Okay, so that's that part. Let's see. Here we go. Carabiner or Carabiner, not exactly sure how you say it. And they have a picture of a little diagram of a bottle. Not sure how well that's going to show. Right there. So that we notice is also a bottle opener. Okay, so let me help you out with this. I have used a bottle opener several times and it works good. I do not have a bottle I need to open right now. So I'm not going to open one up just to, you know, do it. Now, the carabiner part. I do not like the carabiners that have this type of spring. And the reason why is because every one I've ever used, I have not used this one for the carabiner, but every one that I've ever used that has this type of spring, the spring has failed, and whatever it was that I had sitting on my belt loop or keyring at the time had fallen off. I was able to find some of the ones that fell, some of the others I could not, okay? Doesn't matter if I like the tool or not, I don't want to lose it. Okay, if I paid money for it, I do not want to lose it, okay? So that's my take on the bottle opener carabiner part, right? Now, if I had to give this a score out of like 1 through 10, because people ask that from time, oh, how do you rate this, right? I'm going to give it a 5. Okay, if I was rating the Surge, I'd give it, or the Rev, or the Micra, you know, I might be 8, 9, 10, but this one's a 5. And part of the reason for the 5, okay, and it's not about I don't like this part. Part of the reason for the 5 is the screwdriver setup, okay. I love the apparatus that the screwdriver bits go into, but the fact that you need to have one in here and you're open and using it can be uncomfortable on the hand. I do not like that I do not like the being uncomfortable part, okay? Also, if I'm gonna be changing the bits, I pretty much gotta close it up to really access this part good. I don't have to use this to get the other one out, but it's helpful. But I took this one out a little while ago and then I had to pause the video because this fell on the floor and I had to look for it. Now, that's without wearing gloves. If I'm wearing gloves because the temperature's cold out and I'm outside, I might not find it. If I'm out in my yard, I'm going to have to get a metal detector. So I don't give a good score based on some of that. And the fact that I would prefer the blade be one way, either serrated or straight. And the fact that it's combo takes some of the functionality away for me. Okay, some people love it, but for me, it takes away from it. Okay, it does open and close really good. I got a messed up hand. These two fingers will not bend because of an accident from work about 5 years ago. However, even if I don't do anything to hold that, I can still open that and close it with one hand. So that is very handy to have. Okay, there are some good aspects on this tool, but there's also some bad ones, and that's why I give it a 5 out of 10. Okay, my name is Talon. This is older guy stuff on Busy Corner Lane. I'm giving my 2 cents worth, that's what my dad would call my opinion, on the Leatherman Skeletool. If you got the Leatherman Skeletool and you like it, hey, that's great. I'm glad. But if you have mixed feelings about it like I do, I hope one day you find one that you really like. Okay? Have a great, peaceful, happy, wonderful day, and goodbye.